Hello, it's the Way Show, your weekly Sunday dose of entertainment magazine show. My name is Wole, and it's so nice to be with you again. Hope you've had a wonderful week, the past week, which we're closely entering into Monday, another working week. Hopefully, it's going to be a wonderful week for you all. So it's the Way Show. If the first time you're watching us, don't forget to subscribe to this show. Okay, and obviously follow us. Take a look at our past editions. All right, and if you like what we've been bringing to you, please give us a thumbs up. Okay, so today we're going to be talking esports, gaming, and we're going to be talking to someone who is a groundbreaker in the world of gaming. He is no other person but Tobias Ighofose. Tobias, I'm going to ask you to please do me a favor and
Yeah,
let me know if I got the pronunciation of your name, surname
yeah, it's
right.
fine. Tobias, yeah.
Yeah, what about the surname?
Ighofose.
Ighofose.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Apologies if I got that wrong when I
No,
introduced you. Thank you, Tobias, for joining us. Tobias is, like I said, is an entrepreneur. He's a mobile game developer. He's also the founder of Bison Play. He, like I said, a groundbreaker, but he's going to be telling us much about what he has been doing, what he has done in the past, and obviously what he's going to be doing, especially with regards to the gaming industry. Tobias, for
yeah.
people watching us, and they're wondering, who is this fella here that Williams brought onto the studio? Do us a favor by letting us know who you are. And although I know a bit about you, but probably those watching us now wondering, okay, who's this guy? So tell us a bit about you.
Yeah. My name is Tobias Ighofose. I was born in Nigeria, moved to the UK in 2002 to study computer science. So I studied computer science, but in University of Greenwich before I finished and ended up started working as a web developer slash Flash developer. So while working as Flash developer, I worked with a media agency. So with that media agency, I was able to work with companies like Sony, AMC. So I worked on projects like, I don't know if you watched Breaking Bad.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so I worked on lots of,
I was
yeah.
going to come to that anyway.
No, okay.
Obviously, on the exciting part project you worked on with
Yeah.
and Breaking Bad.
Yeah, so working in a media agency, you have to do a lot of like promotional viral. So they're all like personalized applications that you had to integrate with Facebook. Back then, Facebook didn't have the tight security like you did then, because then you could easily share things with your friend. And it was basically Walter White from Breaking Bad. You can send it to your friend and he will talk to your friend he had to record a lot of names. So he could just call your name and like, tell you like you need to change and not end up like him. He has a name and he has to like take you out, but he's going to give you another chance. So it's like a very personalized kind of application. So I did a lot of applications like that for like different things, like for horror movies, Disney movies, like all sorts of applications. And I also, regarding gaming, I started making games for like Nickelodeon through the same media agency company. So I made a few games for Nickelodeon and also BBC. So it was through then myself and another colleague decided like, oh, maybe we can start doing something ourselves, like on mobile. So it was in 2016 we first started Bison Play. Then we launched Mr. Okada as the first game in 2016, which was quite successful at that time. Things were fairly new then, so it was a paid app. So we got over almost probably about 10,000 downloads then, which was quite good. Well, after then, life went on. I got married, had children. Dave had children. So Dave, who was my former colleague, he eventually moved out of the country. So Bison Play was kind of, or close to probably like saying, oh, there was no time for like to make games anymore and everything. So we kind of like split, but I still kept to the company just in case. Then good thing, the pandemic, I wouldn't say good thing anyway, the pandemic happened, the lockdown happened, and that gave me time to like start learning new things, programming languages. So I started learning how to program with C#. In that period, I was still doing my normal regular jobs. In that period, I went from working in Germany for Deutsche Bank, and I moved back to the UK. I worked a bit with companies like Eurostar. Then I went through to CNN. Then ended up at Square Enix, which is the big gaming company that make games like Tomb Raider and Final Fantasy, which I'm still there working there. So, but with the lockdown, having to work from home, my evening and weekends, I'm no longer tired, after driving all the way. So yes, as soon as I finish work, I'm still fine. I could just move on and start learning C#. So it was through learning C# I now remade Mr. Okada again and made it fully free all of last year. So that kind of was I already had assets for Mr. Okada, so it was kind of what I used to learn C# programming language. So after I launched that, it wasn't too long after I just decided, okay, let me make what I really wanted to make, was Queen Amina. And what motivated me the most was obviously when I was during the lockdown, I had time to play games on my consoles. I remember I was playing Final Fantasy VII Remake, and my daughter always loved watching me play, and she would come sit on my lap and everything. And that was the kind of time I started thinking, wow, the part of me was it would be good if she was seeing faces on the screen that looked like her, even though she's still 2 years old. I know kids, they remember things easily.
True.
So that kind of kicked me in the head. I'm wow, I need to make this game. Because when you look at this, I started realizing I can't remember playing any game that seemed to have a black female lead character.
Yeah.
And I wondered that's strange. Why? Because I know especially these days there are a lot of I see a lot of young black women and girls who have become real gamers. You see them Twitch streaming and everything, and you wonder you have all this amount of gamers, and representation really matters within the industry. So I just felt I might as well just make Queen Amina, and this is a story I really wanted to make a game about, because we've got this Queen Amina. Growing up in Nigeria, I never knew anything about Queen Amina until I came to the UK. So it's in Nigeria, I didn't even know about this great woman who conquered West Africa.
Exactly, it's quite interesting because when I was doing my a little bit of research on you and obviously your games, it's quite interesting that you built characters that actually reflected where you're from. And obviously, you are all very, very diverse. You probably, just like you said, you had a look at what was going on. You have a game player, just like I am. But you hardly see any character that bear resemblance to where we are from or our color. All you see is always the normal action hero. So it was like we were just lost,
Yes.
And what I know you said something about inspiration. Apart from your daughter inspiring you to do this, what actually also pushed you to thinking, what there are people in Africa, historical figures in Africa that I could bring out, apart from Queen Amina, because we are going to go extensively into Queen Amina. The normal Okada man on Lagos Street is actually a savior to quite a lot of people.
Yes, I grew up in Lagos, and Okada was obviously the way you could get to anywhere really fast. You have to, a lot of people actually have to depend on Okada, especially in emergencies, anything. You couldn't do anything else because you can't traffic all the time in Lagos. So the Okada is always the way to go.
Yeah, tell us about the Okada Man, Mr. Okada Man. It's the game, because I saw the initial game you've done before now going to the HD, and it was really quite impressive. What was your thinking behind doing the Okada Man, and what were the highlights of the Okada, Mr. Okada Man as a game itself?
I remember I was already in the UK before I even thought of making Mr. Okada, and sometimes I read news about what's going on in Nigeria, and I think I read this news about saying they're banning Okadas in all of Lagos and everything. So not being in Nigeria, and I started feeling wow, so I could go back to Nigeria one day and I wouldn't even see an Okada and everything. So that was kind of my main motivation to make it so even if Okada disappears, we can make it live forever through gaming. So I decided, Yeah.
Go on, go on.
So yeah, so that's when I decided. I spoke to Dave, my colleague then, and I focused on the programming side of things, and he focused on the graphic design. So I decided to start working on Mr. Okada. So I'm sure if you've seen the game, like a lot of the voices there, just my voice and my wife's voice. So I did all the voices of the male, all the angry, road rage words and everything. And my wife did the female voices. So it was between me and my wife who now decided, okay, we need to write a mini story about Okada, like why he's doing it and what he plans to do. So it's basically this Mr. Okada guy who wants to become a successful musician. So he always needs to make a lot of money riding Okada so he can pay his top music producer. So eventually one day he could get contracts and sign a deal and shoot a big video.
Mm.
So
I mean,
yeah.
It was quite fascinating, and especially getting if you're watching us and you've not even you don't know what we're talking about, go on Google, okay, Google Store, iOS, and type in Mr. Okadaman and try this game. Honestly, it's quite fascinating. Obviously, just like Tobias just said, now it was the voice of his voice and the voice of his wife, but it was quite fascinating. You could actually feel yourself in the normal Lagos traffic. Maybe you are driving and you see that Okada man just showing off his skills and whatever and all the talks, and try and do it, because I tested it and I was like, wow, I was really wild. So the Okada man, you reinvented it, so to say, and you turned into HD. What was the reasoning behind that?
It was when I first made Mr. Okada, then devices were quite older. The assets I had were already HD assets. But when we got closer to completion of the dev side of things, when we started testing a lot of like Android mobiles, especially the ones used in Nigeria, because then I was just in the UK, all I knew was like iPhone and Samsung Galaxy. But when we started testing and I started hearing about all these other phones, Techno, Infinix, and we started testing some of them, and like the games in some of them were not just working at all. So we basically kind of like did a lot of like compression to make it work well for all devices. So there's an option to like split it into different kind of devices. So maybe the iPhone would get HD, but that kind of got too complex. So we decided to have like a middle ground. So we compressed the bits, and it was still good like for mobiles then. Obviously now these days we've got retina screen displays and everything. So I decided like, yes, it's time for it to be in HD here.
Okay. And so far, since you've improved on it, what's been the outlook like? What's the outlook like? Is it still download?
People still downloading and everything, even though I don't like. The plan was not even. The plan was just to use it to learn C# programming, but it ended up being popular again. So there was a leaderboard. I ended up having a contest where the winner got an iPhone. So like a top scorer winner, which it was very interesting.
Yeah.
The whole contest.
And then the queen of them all, Queen Amina.
Yeah.
What was it thinking? I mean, just like you said, not a lot of you. I know. I read a little bit about, because I had my secondary school in Nigeria, obviously, and I did a bit of Queen Amina of Zozo in my history lessons. Knew about the woman, but there was not a great deal of story behind this woman. Not a great deal being told about this woman, which was really not impressive. Even growing up in Nigeria, it wasn't impressive at all. So for you to now come up with an idea to make this great woman to turn her into a game for people to understand. You were so real about it. She actually spoke the Hausa language in there, and people also spoke the Hausa language, and there was so even the music that accompanied it was in Hausa. So what shaped you to wanting to do this, to putting that traditional culture itself into it?
Yeah, because when I remember when I did Mr. Okada, I wanted it to be as authentic as possible. Like anyone who's from Lagos would really relate to Mr. Okada, the atmosphere and everything. So those type of things are very important to me. Even though I'm not Hausa, I grew up in my mother used to work in the Nigerian Ports Authority, and we lived in Apapa ports, and we're surrounded by a lot of like Hausa people. So I remember growing up with a lot of Hausa people, and I remember when they're having the Ramadan and Eid al-Fitr and having lots of food being brought to the house. So there's always like lots of good memories. And I realized that the Hausa in general, they have like rich history. And even now learning more about Amina, and it's like this game has to really be authentic. So I spoke to a friend of mine who's called Bison Osikoya. He's also a PR. He's also into PR and also an A&R for music company. So I spoke to him about the game because during when I was working with Mr. Okada, he also helped with promoting Mr. Okada when it first came out in 2016. So when I spoke to him and I showed him the first trailer I made for Queen Amina, the first one, he was so excited. So he introduced me to a Hausa artist called Morel. I was like, wow, you should work with Morel. He's a good singer and everything. That you guys would get along really well. So he introduced me to Morel. I showed Morel too. Even though at that point I'd already started writing the story, I was probably halfway through writing up the story. So I spoke to Morel, and he also now decided, like, yeah, obviously we need to add the voices. And he decided he recorded all the voices because this time I can't do the voices myself. So he ended up doing all the voices for all the male characters. At that point, Queen Amina herself hadn't got a voice. So during that period, I ended up just got to working on the game and writing the story. Obviously, as you said, when it comes to Queen Amina, there's a lot of like background story about her. Like, she had 20,000 soldiers. She ruled from the years she ruled from 1532 to 1576. You had all those background things, but there was no intimate kind of like story about her. So obviously, being a game, I now realized I had to create characters to move her story forward because I planned like to make her start from young to older. So I used her real life story and built a gameplay story around it, like creating a villain. Because in real life, there are no villains in real life.
Yeah.
And creating like people around her, that motivate her to do things. So if you play the game, it's very heavily story driven, like lots of text, lots of story from beginning to end.
We're going to show a clip of what we're talking about in about a minute. And again, just like I said about Mr. Okada, man, if you are thinking, what are these guys talking about? Take a look at this trailer, and once that's done, go Google Store, iOS, download Queen Amina. Just type in Queen Amina and see what comes up. You would be shocked. Seriously, you'll be like delightfully shocked that actually this was done by a Nigerian. Just sit back and let's just watch a clip of what we're talking about.
Zan kashe ka yau. Kai ba jarumi bane. Ba ku isa ba walla. Zan kashe ka yau. Na gama da kai. Zan kashe ka yau. Ya karfi. Ba ku isa ba walla. Ji takobin. Bar nan.
And no, this is not by Konami, okay? Not by Konami. This is by Bison Play, okay? And the person that actually made it is the one I'm talking to now. So if you're thinking, this is Konami, no, Bison Play, and it's made by Tobias. I'm chatting with him just now. Tobias,
yeah,
that was, and that is exciting. That was brilliant. And you know, when we had a chat last Saturday, you said to me, download it. I said, don't worry. I downloaded it. I'm playing, and because my children are avid gamers, so I said, you know what? I was really proud. I said, I spoke to someone today. He's from where I am from, and he's done something really specific, generic to where I am from. Not, but I'm not Hausa, but from Nigeria, and then really proud of it. I said, have a look at it, guys. Have a look at it. And they looked at it and said, who made this? I said, a Nigerian person. You know, the pride in me, like, yes, one of us made this. You know, and guys, if you're watching, try as much as possible on Android, on iOS, just Queen Amina, download it and play it. It's not just in Hausa, because as you saw, there's also the subtitles in English, but it's really educational, historical, entertaining, and I'm sure you're going to like it. Tobias, what were your challenges you faced whilst developing this? I know we don't have quite a lot of historical artifacts that we can call on, or you know, books we can open to draft all this. But what challenges did you actually face? You know,
it was very challenging, because I did find some novels about Queen Amina, but when looking at the novels, I noticed that the stories were basically the stories of the authors themselves, like they created around that. And I didn't want to go and read another person's novel and end up making their own story. So I decided, okay, I will just focus on the internet. So I read so many different articles and so many biographies about Queen Amina. So it was through then I just said, okay, and now that I'm making a game, I will just focus on creating my own story based on her life, possibly from what I know of her childhood, how she would have been like, and how she would have been like growing up, her family, her brothers, her brother, her one brother, and her younger sister, and just her surrounded by her parents and surrounded by her fellow Zaza warriors, because she's a fighter and she always wants to be on kind of the battlefield. So like from the feedback I got from a lot of women especially, they were like, oh, they love the Queen Amina character. She's so tough, so fearless. She's also very passionate, and she can be emotional at times, but also she knows that once she's on the battlefield, it doesn't matter if the person is a friend or foe, but if they're coming after her, she doesn't like anybody pointing weapons at her. And they always talk about how she has very great one-liners, because at the end of each chapter there's like a boss fight, and sometimes the bosses want to both to try and intimidate her, and she always has like a one-liner or something she uses. She tells them. So
which is really quite interesting.
So the story is quite deep, because there's a lot goes on. There's some twists and betrayal through the further you get to in the game. So it was something that I put into a lot of work. And during writing the story, it was hectic. Even there were times when my wife was even getting tired of me, because I could just be lost in space, just thinking of things. She kept writing my iPhone notes. The notes app for my iPhone was just full of writings, different things. And she just got tired of me. She could be talking to me and I'm just looking at her face, because then I'll just stop and okay, yes, I know what I need to do. Because when you're writing a story for a game, it's different from a book, because the story needs to blend into what's going to happen within the gameplay. So it can get tricky, because you want to make this type of gameplay. Like, for example, there are some levels that are horse riding. So you need to blend the story into, okay, what's going to lead to her having to get on a horse again. So I had to like create stories, so each gameplay level and everything will blend in with all these different story chapters. So around December, I had the complete story.
Okay.
By then, and I remember just before New Year, I released there was a first trailer before this one, and I released the first trailer, which was more of the complete story and some gameplay. So during testing, speaking to some of my gamer friends and everything, a few of them were like, oh, man, yeah, you need to go back. Said they loved the story and everything, but they're like, oh, you need to go back to work on the gameplay. One was like, Oh, he's called Undubisi. So we grew up together, like when I was studying University of Ilorin in Nigeria. So when I played the game, he loved the story, but he was like, oh boy, where are the combos? Where are the special moves? So that led me to go back again to create, to add more combos and special moves and special effects, to make the gameplay more fun. Before it was very much story driven than actual gameplay. So I remember releasing the first trailer, and I realized that, okay, now we've got this game. There are a lot of voices, a lot of the Hausa people, the feedback, they were loving it, especially the voices from Morel, the Hausa artist. And I realized, okay, Queen Amina doesn't have a voice. Then I remember posting the trailer on Twitter. Then I noticed I got a retweet from Afrodija, the Afrobeat singer. She tweeted, "Oh, you should go and play this game. Support our fellow Hausa, Queen Amina." Then it just clicked on my head. Wow, Afrodija is Hausa, so
okay,
she could be the voice of Queen Amina. So I asked the PR guy who I was working with, Bizu, and I asked him, like, did you give it to Afrodija? Because that's what Bizu normally does, that as a promoter. He could give his fellow famous friends to post to promote your games. And so I asked him, wow, Bizu, thanks a lot, man. Did you give Afrodija this? I was like, no, he hadn't even spoken to her about this. So she did it on her own. Well, luckily for me, he knew her. So like, I'm going to tell her, I'm involved in this. And, and as soon as he told her, she was interested straight away. And I spoke to her and I told her, like, you have to be the voice of Queen Amina.
Wow.
Yeah. Through then, I had to write like the things that I wanted her to say, and which was me and Maria. We sat down together and came up with what she could possibly say. I had to come up with everything because obviously it was my game, and there were a lot of things that she says during the text part of things, and you want her to say certain things while fighting too. So I came up with a lot of the names and a lot of the words she uses, like maybe after defeating the enemies and everything. So she says things like, even though it's in Hausa, she could say things like, maybe after she killed somebody, she could say something like, "Don't worry, your wife is going to remarry." So the Hausa people probably enjoy the most because they would understand all the things she say. So together we worked with it, then we gave it to DJ and she recorded everything, and it was just perfect, her recording of everything. I've got the video is even posted on Instagram.
Okay.
Somewhere on my page.
Yeah, we'll try as much as possible to try lay out on DJ doing that.
It was just perfect. As soon as she sent it back, we're like, wow, this is my Queen Amina. So she used the first voice and everything, and it was just perfect. And then just before launch, I now made this trailer that you saw. I made it, but we didn't bring it out first. And I remember Kwesi contacted me through Instagram and he told me, do I have any promos or anything that he can just use to promote it? And I told him, like, no, don't worry, just wait, because I knew I wanted to release this particular trailer that had her voice and everything in it. So I told him, no, don't worry about it yet. I'll let him know when the game is out, and you should just wait for the official trailer.
And also, Kwesi is watching. Kwesi, thank you. Kwesi was actually the bridge between myself and you. Was the one that said, "What's going on, Wole? You have a brother of yours who's done so much in the gaming industry. Go talk to him." And I'm like, "Oh, good." So that's how we got in touch with Tobias, and obviously we're talking about this now. So Kwesi, thank you again for that. So Tobias, I know you mentioned about your challenges that you face in getting this in. What would you describe as your best time of the process of game developing? Is it the writing, or maybe the actual gaming itself, or running after voiceover artists, or releasing it?
I would say at the end, the writing and hearing the feedback from people. Because when the friends play it, they will send me a message. Maybe they get to a certain chapter and they're like, "Oh my God, I'm so shocked, so this happened. Wow." And at the end, just hearing them like, wow, you've made this great story. I can't believe you wrote this. It's just amazing hearing that feedback. Someone like, it reminded me a bit of like Game of Thrones and everything. So, when you hear people comparing like the story I wrote myself to Game of Thrones, that is like very exciting. So I would say the story was a big part for me, because even when it comes to games I play, I always like playing Japanese role-playing games like Final Fantasy. So and those games are always heavy with story. So me, generally, if I play a game, if I'm not too interested in the story, I could just give up on the game. The story, I have to be like fully gripped into the story. If not, I could just give up. It doesn't matter how good the gameplay is. So I've always been very story driven. And since this is about Queen Amina, there are people that don't know her story, and having a story about her, within a game was just something I was just excited to do.
Okay, we are going on a short break, and when we come back, we will still talk more about this Queen Amina, which is, I keep saying, totally. When I first saw it, I was obviously very proud to be a Nigerian, and just like Kwesi just said, Kwesi Ighofose said, this is not just a Nigerian issue; it's an African issue. This is for Africa, Kwesi says.
Yes.
So it is indeed proud, because this is probably, Tobias is probably a pioneer in when we talk about gaming, and especially when,
as you said, it's an African issue. As what Kwesi said, it's an African issue, because while I started releasing trailer, I noticed I started getting people reposting it from Niger, people from Tanzania, people from Ghana, especially from, I think, Tamale or somewhere in Ghana. And I realized, oh, okay, yeah, the Hausa people are actually all over Africa.
All over, yeah.
Nigeria,
definitely.
yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely.
So it's kind of quickly spread all over.
Exactly. So, yeah, we're going to go on a quick break, and when we come back, we'll still talk more about Queen Amina. Stay there, don't go away. It's The Way Show, and I am with Tobias. Welcome back. It's The Way Show. My name is Steve Wole, and I'm talking to Tobias Ighofose, who is the founder of Bison Play. Bison Play, proudly African, and they've got a mobile gaming games. Let me just put it like that. We've got the Mr. Okada Man, and I've got the very exciting Queen Amina. And so I've got Tobias with me, and we're still talking about the latest that's come out of Bison play. That's Queen Amina. And again, if you are thinking who Queen Amina is, if you've seen General Okoye from Black Panther, that is nothing, absolutely nothing compared to Queen Amina. That's just like on a child's play to Queen Amina. So we're talking about Queen here, all right? I extended the coast, is extended our borders from just a not too big a village and conquered quite vast parts of West to Central Africa. Okay, so get there, iOS, Android, download it, play the game. Trust me, you are gonna. It's very addictive. Just let me let you know. All right, but you're gonna enjoy it. It's educational, and you just love it. So, Tobias, I mentioned Black Panther, and obviously another game that comes to mind that now made it to the big screens is Assassin's Creed. So, are we looking at it at the time where Queen Amina from Bison Play will probably make it to the big screens and be something people will obviously go watch? Is that in the pipeline? Is this something?
Oh, of course.
Good.
Of course, definitely.
Good. And now, when should we be expecting that? I'm sure it's a very big project. It's a massive project. Yeah.
Well,
We're not talking next year or 2 years. It's 2 years time. No.
Well, it will happen.
It will happen. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Just know. Well, he's just said it's going to happen. Okay. So let's talk again about Bison Play. We know you're focused on getting the facts right, especially being diverse and obviously picking on the African continent and the heroes and heroines of Africa to showcase them. Is there anything coming up soon aside from Queen Amina? Is that someone else who probably should be looking up to coming out from Bison Play?
Oh, there are lots of names here. I don't want to mention them yet.
Okay.
Yeah, but after a lot of people saw Queen Amina, I've seen people from all over, not just Africans, from the diaspora, from the Caribbean, from United States. So different people have come with like different heroes who they would want to see in the game, like Queen Amina. So yeah. So I actually have a list of there are 3 main ones that could probably be next.
Okay. So if you're watching, just watch. Wait. Yeah. Okay. Wait. It's 3 more coming up. And it's going to be very soon coming out from Bison Play. So, and
the funny thing is that Queen Amina itself, before I even made Queen Amina, it was the suggestion was I was going to make a game based on several African heroes. It was going to be one game. I was going to title it "The Land of Warriors."
Okay.
And obviously, I was going to write Queen Amina's story first. When I started building on Queen Amina, I was like, her story is too interesting. Like when I kept writing, I realized her story is going to be long and she's too big to share again with other heroes. So okay, yes, this is just Queen Amina.
That's brilliant. That's brilliant. And in one of your when I was doing the research on you, I came across some of your inspirations. One of them is Hideo Kojima, the Japanese gamer. You said he was an inspiration to you. Yeah. And again, there's Spike Lee, who is the famous Afro-American film director. Why these 2 men? Is it that you see parts of you in these 2 men?
I would say I just enjoyed their work. I enjoyed, I was fully enjoyed everything they did. From Spike Lee watching Do the Right Thing, and growing up in Nigeria and watching how he brought all these black actors, a lot of famous black actors now, where people who've been in Spike Lee films. Even now, if you go back and watch some old Spike Lee films, you even recognize actors that you didn't even know were there, but you know that. That's successful now, and well, just his style of directing, his movies, the stories, and me being a story person, I always loved every Spike Lee movie that came out then, and it gives you that full kind of black pride. And with Kojima, but mainly the Metal Gear Solid games. It also has to do with storytelling, the style of storytelling, and Metal Gear is fully action packed. And I remember playing if I play a Metal Gear game, maybe I just want to play for 1 hour, and I think almost every single Metal Gear games I played, I pretty much binged the whole game like with no sleep because I just wanted to see what's going to happen next, a lot of twists and plots, and since then I've just kind of admired everything that Hideo Kojima did. It was like a great story. Like I gave like full salutes.
To the experiment. And what do you think? It's so far you're a gamer. Apart from being a game developer, you're also a gamer. And I know I asked this question I forwarded this question to Chrissy when he was on the show with his colleague and friend Shayo. I said, what's the future of gaming in Africa? What's the future for gaming itself and game developers who are probably watching now thinking, I've had ideas like this for years, but I don't know what to do. I will go about it. So what's the future like? Do you think Africa will probably be the next Japan where, gaming, anime, and what have you is so much rampant?
I believe it could happen. Well, from what I've noticed, like right now, I spoke to a lot of good developers that are actually Nigerian. Some of them, there are things they would really like to do. They are very good, but when it comes to development and being in Nigeria, there are a lot of obstacles. So they need funding, basically. And I don't know, maybe the brands in Nigeria, some of them, even though they talk like they embrace tech, I don't think they are in that stage. They are at that stage where they fully embrace technology and really appreciate the efforts of game developers, in my opinion.
So we still got a bit of
yes,
long way.
Because the game developers they need the support. They need
absolutely need support.
Yeah.
Okay. And what are your thoughts on diversity? I know this is a strong topic you probably close to your heart. The reason why you've come up with Mr. Okadama, you've come up with Queen Amina, obviously, because all we see when we pick up our game consoles or mobile phone is, So, what are your thoughts on these issues, especially not just in gaming, obviously in the entertainment world, especially in this part of the Western world?
I just feel like, yes, they need more diversity. So, for example, I'm a bit of like a nerd, comic book nerd and gaming nerd. So I always attend events like Comic-Con. And Comic-Con is a big deal. When you go to Comic-Con, you don't just want to go yourself. You want to dress up like a character. You want to. So I've been to Comic-Con like twice. And the 2 times I went there, I dressed up as Blade. So it's like, how many times do I want to keep being, Blade? And sometimes you can also dress up like another character that is possibly not black. But deep inside you will still feel like, you are not the right look for that character. I've seen, like, for example, Final Fantasy VII is a very much loved game. And I remember a black girl, she's a cosplayer. She dressed as a character from Final Fantasy called Tifa. She posted it on Facebook. Although a lot of the comments were positive, but there were other people like commenting with, very distasteful comments like, "Oh, you can never be Tifa," for obvious reasons. And obviously what they meant is because she's black. So, things like that is quite sad, and when you're in these communities, like some black gaming communities, a few black gaming communities on Facebook, and you see good artists, they draw characters, so they might draw characters from Marvel comics and, they make them black. Even though the characters, they're good drawings and everything, but they're nice to see, but at the same time, it kind of made me feel sad, like, we always have to turn these characters black to, to feel represented. And it's like, we've got this rich history in Africa. We've got heroes, we've got stories, like lots of stories that are probably much better. Like I can say the story of Shango, for example, is probably better than story of Thor. Who knows? That they probably took the story from Africa once upon a time, because you can see the similarities.
Exactly.
Axe, lightning, things like that. And we've got these stories. So, and one thing I learned, like being in UK, is like history is really powerful. History can build pride for the people, and there are lots, especially in Nigeria these days. Like I remember there was the news I read about. They were even going to remove history from the Nigeria school curriculums. And that is, I felt like, no, this is just dangerous. And we can see the effects of it in current Nigeria now. Because, history would help everyone to be more united. Because when everyone can embrace everyone's culture and history, imagine you grew up, you learned about Queen Amina, you learned about Oduduwa, you learned about Usman Dafodio, you learned about these people, and they're all Nigerians. They're all going to feel proud, and you feel like one. So I don't think we had enough of that. That's why I feel history is very important.
That's very true. That's very true. Let me take you back to Breaking Bad. And obviously, Walter White, you done a viral marketing campaign, which actually featured Walter giving personalized life advice to people. What was that like? I mean, Breaking Bad was like, and it still is, the thing. If you've not watched it, then where have you been? So. What was that all about, really? The personalized life advice, and for you, what was it like for you doing that, and obviously helping people?
Yeah, to me it was very exciting because I just joined this media agency, and I remember Breaking Bad was not what it had just come out. So it was just on post production, and it had just come out, so it was still fresh, and like, oh, they've got this show, and it's probably going to be a hit show. So when it first came out, it was kind of like a niche show. There were only a specific set of people who were watching Breaking Bad. It was actually word of mouth that people were like, wow, I mean, you know about this series, Breaking Bad. So it was before it became the huge thing that it was. So I remember we did viral for like the first 3 seasons. So then I used to work on Adobe Flash. So I always liked, doing a lot of effects, and Flash then was everything on the net. So you could easily create things. Like what I did with it was a lot of like motion tracking. So I learned like motion tracking with Flash, so you can create a false reality. That was before the augmented reality started coming on. So it was more to do with motion tracking, like having your name on a paper and having it move it all around and it's still there. So people were like, wow, how is he doing this? Where it's all kind of like motion tracking and tracking all the 4 corners. So it was exciting writing, coding on that with like action scripts and working in Flash. And then Facebook integration was really good. People were not really bothered about privacy that much. You could just send it to any of your friends, use all his profile pictures and put them in it, and they will watch it and they will be excited. But these days, you try that, people will get scared, like, where do you get my picture from? It's privacy. So in a way, even though all these privacy issues are good, but it has kind of killed a bit of fun from doing these surprise things on the internet.
And Quincy's got a question. He said to Tobias, what will be the key pillars for Africa Gaming Studio to develop triple A game and the connect with esports?
Yes, it's all about investment.
Could it be that when you talk about investments, are we talking about the private sector now, or are we even looking at government?
Yes, government
providing.
Yes.
And in what ways do you think they can probably support? And again, when you talk about government need to know, people at the head of power need to be educated. And I hate using this word because they don't get educated enough to embezzle money or steal money. But you need to educate them to do something good, because we've got millions of youths in Africa that could probably got these ideas and what have you, and they can make into better use in promoting the image of each of the African countries. But where the governments, how do we educate our governments to get that sense that, listen, guys, we can engage our youth in doing stuff like this?
The way the government is now, it's that's, I would say that's tough. But at the same time, things like, say, like maybe tourism ministers, we need to promote our culture more. So we should use things like that. Let's say, for example, Queen Amina now. Originally, Queen Amina would be from somewhere like Kaduna and like Zaria. If you go to like Kaduna, Zaria, everyone knows about Queen Amina and things like that. So you can use that as a platform, like, okay, people who would want to visit Kaduna, if we can create this story about Queen Amina now, so people from other countries would want to come and visit more often. So you can even build that on the tourism, and as being part of the government, that is something you would want for your state.
Well, if they are watching, they're probably picking an idea or two from what we've talked about. Quincy, I hope that answers your question regarding AAA games and connecting with esports. So just to let you know, if you've got any questions at all, just be kind enough to post in the comment section, and I will post it to Tobias as we round up. Quincy also followed up that Queen Amina is one stepping stone. Government should adapt these historical games as part of the extracurricular activities for students. And I was going to say that because obviously, like I said, growing up in Nigeria, we were not taught quite a lot at in-depth of our own history and historical figures. I tend to know. Yeah, I tend to know more about
the colonial leader rulers,
about the colonial masters than quite recently, where I was with someone, we were talking. Obviously, the person was is born here, and I was telling that person about the history of the kings and queens of the past in England and in Scotland, and she was like, "Where did you school again?" I said, "In Africa." "How did you know all this?" I said, "Because we got taught. This was what was in our curriculum in secondary school, in universities. We got taught this, relegating our so-called traditional heroes, heroines, and values to the background." So I mean, imagine what you said about government wanting at a point in time when you said take out history from the curriculum. I mean, a nation, a people without history they're doomed.
Yeah, doomed. That's the problem.
Exactly. So I think we need to reconnect, and we need to rethink. And obviously, if we do that, we'll be able to go places. Rounding up now, Tobias, what message have you got for developers there in the Caribbean, in Africa, and developing world, thinking, I want to do this, but I might not have the funds at the moment. What message are you giving to them now?
I would say first, obviously, keep learning and keep trying to build your network. Don't keep your network to say, okay, you're just from Nigeria and you're just going to speak to Nigerians. Now the internet is wide open. There's Instagram. Everyone can easily connect. There's Discord. There are so many different ways of bringing people together, So just look for like-minded people. Work together. You can start with small projects. Maybe, for example, you're a developer. You work with another graphic designer or an artist, work together, do small projects together, and you can just hope and, keep trying, sending messages to people. You never know when anyone would respond, the right people, and from there you could easily build things. So the main thing is just like developers need to come together and build a community. Because through making Queen Amina, making this game, I got to meet a lot of other developers, even some in the UK that I never knew, and also in the United States. For some reason, I found people from the United States, they seem to have probably more pride than even say Nigeria.
Wow.
Based on like from the feedback I saw. Obviously, the Hausa probably had the best feedback because they were very proud about it, finally having again our Queen Amina. But outside of the Hausa, I would say the next were people from the United States. They were just more excited about it.
Wow. Well, just like Chrissy said, this is an African project, and watching out there, support this project. This project is laudable. We should take it to where it should be. Okay, not just this one, and even the Okada, Mr. Okada man, and obviously more coming up from Bison Play. Tobias, I want to say thank you so much for your time today, for joining us.
Thank you for
it's been wonderful chatting about developing, chatting about
history.
Our history, yeah, our tradition. We should not forget about that. So grateful that you've joined us today, and we're wishing you and Bison Play all the very best, and we're looking forward to other stuff coming out of Bison. Most especially, we cannot wait for that big screen Queen Amina that is going to storm Hollywood by force. Okay. So wishing you all the best. If you can just stay backstage, and we'll still catch up. And to everyone watching, so thank you so much for watching to the Way Show today. I want to say a very big thanks to everyone that's made comments today. Sid actually started watching us from 7:36 p.m. today. Tuned in. Thank you so much, Sid. We appreciate that. Crazy, thank you so much, brother, for everything. And also Collins, Dion, thank you so much. Again, special thanks, special happy birthday to Kumbi. On behalf of the Way Show, special happy birthday to Kumbi, to Dion and Kumbi. And also to Sandra Sylvester, ever present. Thank you for the nice words. To Ex-Barsa, thank you for joining, and to every other person tuning us to mention your name. Thank you for staying tuned and for your comments. We appreciate you. Don't forget to tell someone about the Way Show, okay? We bring out the best of Africa and African diaspora, okay? Just like we have spoken to Tobias today. Until next week, when I'll be coming to your roots and to your wherever you're watching from today. I remain Wole. I wish you the very best of this week, and please do continue to stay safe. Have a great week. Thank you. Bye.